All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, April 14th, 2022, last day of the trading week, as we do have the holiday coming up tomorrow. And if you've not done so already, please like, comment, subscribe, or come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, to the markets here. So a typical opex day, lots of premium being drained across the board. Take a look at Tesla here. This is just one example, but they gap it down, push it right down to where they need it, and then they just pin it sideways all day long. There's plenty of other examples like this. Take a look at Snowflake, for instance. Snowflake pretty much sideways for the last week or so. Then all of a sudden it just pushes lower today and they pin it right to $200, which is a perfectly, whole round number. There's, tons of NVIDIA, coming down and then just being pinned sideways, now fading a little bit into the end of the day as everything kind of rolls over a little bit here. And again, it looks like they're trying to get everybody to puke up their shares to me. At least that is my take on it. And it is an OPEX week. I thought there was a chance we could get a move up to the 448, 450 area, as there's a lot of premium. There was a straddle at 450, again, a whole round number of 450. But, the dealers know where they got their, where they need the market to be to make their money. And a lot of the time, all we can do is just kind of guesstimate and, make an assumption off of that. But overall, a pretty good pullback day. I will say, let's take a look here. So the AAI investment survey came out here, 15.8% bullish. That is really low here. Bears making new highs here on the week. I don't have the IBD number. That will come out a little bit later, so I'll get that one out to you probably in the weekend video, but that's a pretty crazy looking print there on the the sentiment survey. And markets are flushing here into the final 20 minutes. Let's take a look at the daily here. So Spider's trying to hold this low here. All things considered, it's holding the week to date low for now, but they did gap the VIX down today, and it is relatively green for the most part, but it's not like we're seeing a massive move here in the VIX. So it is a typical type of OPEX session. Qs are lower on yields, and overall they're just burning out the premium. Let's take a look here on the weekly time frame. So let's go back to the spiders here. So I'm not sure where we're going to close here. They could put in a market sell or a market buy program in the last 10 minutes. Who knows? But overall, really not a terrible pullback pattern here on the spiders. We talked about the Dow. Take a look at the diamond here. Again, nothing wrong with this pattern here on the Dow. The Dow is, consumer blue chip names, made up of blue chip stocks. So it's not the most bullish thing to see the Dow lead, but, it is holding up okay. And, if this continues higher, everything else is likely to kind of continue higher with it. The Russell also green on the week. So another thing, another kind of diverging little indicator here, as bearish as everything looks here on the daily. And, the Russell's well off the lows here, but the Russell is green on the week. Very interesting stuff. Triple Q is also kind of basically engulfing yesterday's candle. So this also looks very bearish. But when you look at the Russell, that kind of does send my antenna up a little bit. Also the Qs here, again, not the best looking weekly candle, but it's also not the worst. I mean, this, up and you're kind of pulling back here, until you really make lower lows or you break through, this area here, 337 or so. And, you could make a case this is a bearish pattern. You could also say that, this is just OPEX pinning pretty much a week long of OPEX pinning. There's a lot of stocks out there right now that have just gone sideways all week long. So, a lot of the times that can just be as simple as theta burn. And that's really all you get. Obviously, we'll have to see where we open next week. But in any case, let's flip over here. So semiconductors, same kind of deal here. TSM did report today. That did gap up, but, everything kind of just rolled over today. Intel, the dog of all dogs here, did not help out. Did not help the semiconductors. Again, starting to lose these lows here, but it's still above this pivot, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. IGV also came in a little bit, but it's trying to hold those lows there. And ultimately, again, just look at this sideways all week long, just like pretty much everything else in the market. So we'll have to see what we look like next week when we open. Let's take a look at the transports here. So transports scratching out a gain, and again, the transports, I've been saying this all week. The transports, the Russell, and the VIX are kind of telling me that, despite some of this selling here, it does look like it's more of just a pullback type sell to me rather than major distribution. Again, volume is pretty light here. So this, this isn't distribution volume. And if it was, why isn't the Russell breaking down? Why aren't the transports breaking down? The transports did come down pretty sharply, but they are up this week with all of this supposed distribution that's going on. So a couple of red flags I'm seeing here. But ultimately, I think once OPEX is out of the way, we'll get a much clearer picture here. There is a lot of puts at 400, though, on the spider for the month of May. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. We're a month away, but that's going to be in our back pocket for later. Anyways, let's move over here to yields. So I tweeted this earlier. I think there's a possibility that we put in a blow off top here in yields next week. And this basically it's kind of just traders' intuition of just seeing the behavior in the 10-year yield. It's also, I mean, we've talked about this before, but you're piercing that 200-month moving average. A lot of times when you have a momentum, it will pierce. But I'm going to do some cycle work here over the weekend, over the long weekend, and get some of that done. See if I can find a cycle date for next week. 30-year can possibly still get up to 3%, maybe even a little bit higher than that. I originally had a target of, I think it was 3.06 was my original target on the 30-year. And as you can see, we got pretty close today, at least to 3%, 2.929. So it's up there. It's close. Nothing to say it can't go a little bit higher, but just based on the behavior of this pattern here, specifically on the 10-year, this looks like it's about to blow off to me, if it hasn't already. But I'll have to do some more work on it. But yeah, stay tuned for that because it should be interesting. I think that the inflation trade's getting extremely, and I mean extremely crowded here. But high yield debt is lower today, but is off the lows. And again, that little fake out on Monday that I talked about, ended up playing out, even though, it is red today, but it's still holding that 80 handle on a weekly closing basis. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Home builders weak, as you'd expect, with a higher yield, but still holding the lows as yields are making new highs. So that is interesting to note. We'll watch that next week. VNQ sideways, just like everything. This has been sideways for almost a month now, but nothing wrong. Let's take a look at the weekly, actually. Nothing wrong here. Nice power bar, 1-2 pullback. So there's nothing to say this can't go higher if it bakes in the oven a little bit longer. So there's some things out there that don't look too terrible, honestly, despite this, the selling pressure we've had over the last week. Anyways, XLF here is lower, but it's holding yesterday's lows. So we had a lot of banks report today. Wells Fargo, that gap down, but it is holding the 46 handle. So it's holding this pivot for now. So again, OPEX, we'll see where it opens next week. Citigroup, the dog of all dogs. Hey, go figure, it's actually green today. Maybe the bad earnings, maybe it's just so beaten down that, sometimes that can happen when you're so beaten down in earnings, the expectations are low and the market, says, okay, and that's not that bad. But Citigroup is a dog. I should call it City Dog, honestly. But it is green today. USB, up 4%, so this is a strong name in the fin sector. Getting a nice bid. It did lose all these pivots here, but on a weekly close, it's going to hold it. So nice pop there for USB. Let's look at Morgan. So Morgan Stanley, green coming off the highs though, but it is green in a down market. And Goldman as well. Goldman can actually hold up here. I know this is I've been talking about this falling wedge pattern, but this isn't the worst look here in a down market, honestly. So we'll see what Goldman does. If this can consolidate a little bit, this might actually have a chance to pop back up a little bit. Overall, fins have been weak, so I'm not saying I'm bullish on these by any means, but when I see the market down 1% and Goldman flat, that's usually a good sign. Anyways, let's flip over to energy. So crude, getting a bid, getting above this trend line again. It was a really steep trend line, so I don't know how much I really put on this. I like this one a little bit better because it's a little less steep. But in any case, your major level here is 107.80, and then through that is about 113. Those are going to be your major levels. If crude is to continue higher, you got a little bit of a minor level there at 108.75, but just right in this area, this pivot where it came down, and then there's your red bar there. But overall, crude just kind of chopping in this range, making lower highs and basically equal lows. So we'll see what it does next week. XLE still in this channel, really extended, overbought, needs to pull back, needs to correct. XOP, same kind of deal in this rising wedge. And OIH breaking through this kind of upper band here, but still inside of this big tail candle. So let's see what that does next week as well. And nat gas finally, an absolute powerhouse, but again, getting extremely crowded. And I was just telling the members this earlier. But, to see this move in crude here, let's just go right here. There's nothing to say that this isn't nat gas right now. In fact, I expect that to happen. Once leverage gets involved, and it will, and it probably already is, you're going to see the same thing with rates, that we saw with crude, that we saw with nat gas, that we saw with NVIDIA a few months ago. So, these parabolic moves, it's usually precedes a massive sell-off, a massive correction, or even the end of the move. But right now, these things are parabolic. If you own it, please trail your stop. All right. Anyways, let's move over. Dollar index did pull back off the highs, but it did make a new high here. Again, it's holding up. It's into resistance. And again, this is tied to yields. So basically the same kind of principle applies that I just mentioned as far as yields are concerned. Anyways, gold here, basically flattish, maybe some opex stuff going on as it kind of just floated up here, but still the main level to watch is 1994.80. That's your big red bar high there. Basically, just call it 2000. GDX managing to print a little bit higher today, making new 52-week highs. And probably should make a new 52-week closing high, barring a big sell-off here. So GDX holding up okay. Silver also holding up okay. I thought this may have reversed. It was lower earlier, and I mentioned yesterday, I said, wouldn't it be just something if, silver reversed this whole kind of breakout move here for opex, because how many times have we seen that? But hey, it's holding up okay. SILJ, possibly putting in a little hammer candle, so nothing wrong with that. I like a breakout bar and then a hammer candle after it. So it's trying to consolidate to get through this pivot, so nothing wrong with SILJ at the moment. I don't dislike the setup. Platinum and palladium both just kind of hanging in there. Palladium with a little pop and a pullback pattern, but it's still kind of all over the map for me to do anything with. And copper, again, every single week we say the same thing. It's been sideways, nice little kind of pop and then a pullback pattern, I guess, but it's still inside of this big red bar. So copper is a little bit range bound at the moment and really has been for quite a while. All right, let's flip over to the coins here. So Bitcoin, we've got to watch this pattern here. So if this starts to go sideways and continues going sideways, it could be putting in a bearish pattern to break through this trend line and break through this chop here. Now there is a lot of chop in here, so it could take a while. I still want to give Bitcoin the upside bias to 45,000. In the meantime, it's got to get above 42,441 though. But for right now, it's kind of holding. Again, this could be OPEX related, got pushed down and then went sideways for the rest of the week. So there's very much the chance that that is the case. Same thing with Ether. Well, do they pin it right to the 50 moving average for OPEX? I mean, come on, like sometimes it's a little obvious what they do, but that's the nature of the beast here. Nice little move up, bear flag down, and now trying to put another inside bar in here. But I'm interested to see what it does over the weekend and as soon as the options expire. Anyways, I still obviously have a, despite this little inside bar, some type of an upside bias for crypto here moving forward, but not a big one and not something that I think is going to last for very long. Anyways, let's flip back over here to the spiders. Let's take a look here. So yeah, they're flushing it down a little bit. We got about 10 minutes to go. Nothing to say they can't have a big buy program or a big sell program into the close, but ultimately looks like it's pinning, they're just pinning it lower here and collecting call premium, essentially. I thought they would have collected a little bit more put premium, seeing as how, at least from what I was reading, it looked like there was a lot more puts in the system, especially at 445, 440, or 450 there on the spiders, and 350 on the triple Qs. But hey, they know where they need to close it. And again, best we can do is just guesstimate most of the time. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up here. You guys have a great weekend. Have a great holiday. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com, and I'll talk to you all next week.